Namaste, Namaskaram, Vanakkam, Namo Namaha, Jai Ganesha. Please visit our website at classicalyoga.org, and there is a donate button if you'd like to help us out. Subha, Bhaba, Dina. Happy Father's Day. So on this Father's Day, 2023, let's take a moment to appreciate the many fathers in our life. And note that when we have our various Mother's Day, Father's Day, various festivals, they're to highlight and remind us that we should be respecting our mothers and our fathers and our different Hindu deities all year long, not just on that one day. So every day we want to respect our Mata and our Pita. But today, let's look at what it is to be a father. A biological father. You may have a father in the sense of a father figure, a teacher perhaps, a professor. And certainly when it comes to religions, clergy, for example, they're often considered fathers. In Hinduism, we call them babas, pundits, yogis, swamis, gurus. So what is the role of a father? A father is to love their children, their students, their religious devotees, and to guide and correct them. And sometimes, depending upon how serious the correction, a good father, a good teacher, a good cleric, yogi, swami, baba, guru, will be very stern. For what is the purpose? It's not anger. Anger is a raw, uncontrolled human emotion. But correction, displeasure, is a vital teaching process with the goal in mind to help create a responsible adult from the child, a responsible perhaps teacher from a student, and for the guru, the swami, the baba, to bring their chelas, their students, their disciples, into the state of enlightenment. And therefore, serious correction is sometimes needed. And isn't it interesting how many balk at this when it comes to religious figures? They think they're not supposed to ever get upset, but that would be totally irresponsible. That would be an irresponsible parent, irresponsible teacher, certainly an irresponsible swami or guru to not correct, and sometimes very seriously correct when their students go wrong, because their goal is to bring them into spiritual realization, atma darshana, paramo dharma. To do anything less would actually deny them this opportunity and would reinforce the very thing they need to get out of the way, the ego, that's blinding them from their spiritual realization. And it's sadly humorous in a way that those who are really unenlightened actually seem to know what an enlightened person is supposed to be and how they're supposed to act. How ludicrous is that? And it's interesting to note that those who offer serious correction in their everyday life to their children are perhaps ones that cannot at all accept this kind of correction. So let's look in the Hindu Yoga Dharma at serious correction. If we look at our devatas, look at Shiva and the young Balaganapati. He actually cut off his head. And why? Because there was a lesson there. Ganesha stood up and would not let Mahadev Shiva pass. But the ultimate lesson was that we Hindus have to learn to stand up for principles. And the overriding lesson here is that when you do stand up, you don't always win. Sometimes you lose, and sometimes you lose big. But if you hold to your values, everything turns out all right. In the end, there's always a lesson in these Hindu stories. And hopefully with a true Swami and Guru, there's a lesson that they're trying to teach the disciple, which the disciple cannot just see in the moment because they're blinded by their emotions and their ego. Let's look at Muruga, who was created, Skanda Muruga, to defeat the evil demon Taraka. Taraka had won a boon that he would rule over all three worlds, Bor Bhuvasvaha. So what was the lesson here in Skanda defeating Taraka? It was the lesson of those who seek power over all things worldly. And how is that power ultimately conquered? It's by the youthful, loving warrior at the heart, which is what Skanda Muruga represents. So too with Krishna as a youthful, loving warrior. I mean, the whole Bhagavad Gita is a battle. It's about Krishna trying to teach Arjuna, who was displaying very cowardice tendencies, to sometimes you have to fight. So he had to get very firm with him and said, look, you got to fight. What if he just had have said to Arjuna, oh, you can fight if you want to, or you don't have to. Wow, what a bad teacher that would be. What a bad guru that would be. So too again with Shiva. Remember when little Kama came to him, the deity of lust, Shiva actually opened his eye and burnt him to a crisp. So for those who can't stand a little bit of verbal criticism, think of these stories within the Hindu yoga dharma. When deities get their heads cut off, they get burnt to a crisp. But as in the story of Ganesha, little Kama was put back together again by Ganesha, showing us the wisdom, the important overriding lesson that we all need to learn to control our passions, our lust, or Kama. So too with Mother Durga, she defeats the evil demon Mahishasura, who his ability was to be a shapeshifter. He could change form. He was a buffalo at one time. So what does this show us? What was the overriding lesson here in Ma Durga defeated him? That even though we can change our outer form, if we still maintain an evil, intrinsic inner nature, the outer form is just simply a disguise. Think of that, how we often disguise ourselves outwardly with possessions and clothes and makeup, outer accoutrements, right? But if we have an evil heart, an evil mind, one can see through that as Mother Durga did and defeated the evil demon Mahishasura. Now, in recent times, and truly any Hindu who's had a guru know that they can be very fiery at times, which is necessary. Remember, Shiva is the destroyer, fire, to burn up our ignorance and egoism, that we must learn to take. And a good devotee will understand that, and they'll humbly bow to the guru's corrections and learn from them and actually ask for correction. As a young monk, we were always encouraged to go to the swamis and the gurus and ask them to correct us where we were going wrong. We would fully take advantage of that precious opportunity. So, in the case of Yogaswami, a famous mystic guru from Sri Lanka, a devotee once complained to him about his fiery temper with some of his disciples, and he simply calmly replied, "Is not a big fire necessary to burn garbage?" So if you bring garbage to the guru, mental garbage, emotional baggage that you need to work through, hard egotistical nature, do we not want that garbage burned up? Sometimes it takes a big fire to do that. And Yogaswami was infamous for looking at some of his chelas who were misbehaving, and he looked directly at them and said, "Today is a yajna day," for the fire ceremony. A yajna day, I'm going to set fire and burn all of you. Burn up their ego. Thank you, thank you. This is what we're in this for, to get rid of our hard ego and our misunderstandings, not to bolster them. So the guru plays the vital role of the ultimate parent here in burning up the ignorance of the chela or the disciple. Now, as a student, and remember, we were children, and then we perhaps became parents. We were students and perhaps became teachers. We were chelas and perhaps became a swami or a guru. We understand as a child, as a student, as a chela, that we have an opportunity here when we're being corrected. We can do one of three things. We can either fight the parent, the teacher, the guru, not recommended, or we can either run away, or we can humbly ask, well, what's the lesson here? What do I need to learn? Please help me. So personally, over the years, I've seen many students, even chelas, that run away for weeks, months, sometimes years, and recurring years. And some never, ever return. So on this Subha Baba Dina Day, this Happy Father's Day, let's really seriously think about what the role of a true father is, the role of a true teacher, the role of a true Swami, Guru, a Baba, to help create a mature individual, and in the case of the Hindu Yoga Dharma, a spiritually realized individual, an enlightened individual. Om Tat Sat Chidananda, Jyoti Shakti Ananda Shanti, love, light, and energy. Om, this are we, if we get the ego out of the way, with our emotions, mind, and body. Om. Have a wonderful Father's Day. Thank all the fathers in your life. Jai Ganesha, Jai Hindu Yoga Dharma. Namaste.